We actually encourage people to do monthly market research to continually stay up to date with the trends and the desires of the market, because sometimes what once was needed is no longer needed.
Welcome to the High Voltage Business Builders, a show where we interview entrepreneurs growing and scaling their income through e-commerce and showing you the path to make your first or next million. Hey folks, and welcome back to the podcast. I have an exciting guest with me today. We've tried, I think, twice now, and then one major family drama interruption away from getting to this podcast today. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you having me coming on.
Yeah,
all right, Adam. Thank you, sir. All right, so we were literally in the process of recording this when my dog is now on the way to the vet because of some drama that was just occurring with a bone or a stick or something stuck in the back of the throat. The kids got it, so we'll see what happens with that. But we're here to talk about you today. And hopefully there's no drama like that occurring in your life at this moment. That you
No sticks in the back of my throat, thankfully.
No sticks in the back of your throat. Good news. Good news. Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit more about what you're doing, and then we can kind of weave in what you're about and who you are and family and everything, because that's important too. But give everybody who's listening right out of the gate here some information about what you teach, what you do, and what maybe they should be thinking about as we get into this call.
Thanks. Yeah. So I'm an investor. I own 12 different companies and I consult. In fact, over the last 2 years, I've consulted for over 1,900 companies to help them grow and scale during these unique times of crisis. And the way I do that is I developed something called the Smart Blueprint, which is basically all of the standard operating procedures that I apply to a company after acquiring it to ensure that it grows and continues to do what it's supposed to do. And I find that many business owners have found themselves accidentally in charge of a business. And while they're having a lot of success, there are some gaping holes in standard operating procedures that are missing. And people will often pay me to either gain those standard operating procedures or have me help them develop them and implement them in their company to ensure they've got consistent sales and growth and systems.
Very important for growth, very important for understanding the success and growth metrics. We had a little conversation about that at the beginning of our discussion there in the green room and going over some of the topics. In my opinion, my language, what I see and have seen in business, and I wasn't too far off. Why don't you give us the most statistically relevant versions of why a company fails? What are the top reasons?
Yeah, so I've got this speech I've been giving the last couple of years, which is the business mistakes that kill the American dream, according to the statistics. And I found that many business owners have no idea what destroys over 500,000 businesses a year in America. And which is a shocking number. And if you think that you're not going to be one of them, know that 2 in every 3 businesses fail. So, just think about 2 of your friends that run businesses and imagine that in 10 years' time, only one of you is still going to be around. And shockingly, that number is pretty accurate. If you think back to people that have said they're going to start a business and or have been running one and now they no longer exist, the numbers are real. And there are 3 major reasons. The first one accounts for 42% of the reason why a company collapses. And it's because the company has developed products that nobody wants. That's 42%.
That's pretty almost obvious to us, like on the e-com side, right? Products that people don't want. That's a big reason. Yeah.
Yeah, but it extends beyond that. You have fitness professionals that suddenly decide they're going to become a fitness expert, but there's a saturation of fitness experts, or someone that says, I'm gonna open a flower shop in an area where there's already lots of flowers, or no one really cares about buying flowers. This is a very common thing that business owners do, where they say, I'm going to do this because I want to, and haven't actually done the market research. In the Smart Blueprint, we actually encourage people to do monthly market research to continually stay up to date with the trends and the desires of the market, because sometimes what once was needed is no longer needed, and it can change every 30 days. You imagine the kind of things that people cared about at the beginning of 2019 and the kind of things they cared about 3 months later were incredibly different. Yeah. And if you don't have a system to constantly be monitoring what's going on, it's funny. I was talking to my CFO just before coming live, and the previous company he worked at, I actually got him because the previous company struggled too badly; they couldn't afford him anymore. Their revenue dropped by 40% in 30 days.
Wow, that's a major hit.
Oh yeah, they were doing 13 million a year. And
Was that pre in the pandemic stages? Was that just recently, or was that a few years back when a lot of companies?
Post-pandemic, it happened within 30 days. So 30 days before the pandemic, they were on track to do 13 million again, which is kind of what they'd been doing the last 3 years. They'd sort of been between the 12 to 14 million mark, give or take. And then 40% reduction in earnings within 30 days that stayed through the whole pandemic.
Ouch. So they had some sort of localized or regionalized aspect of that was
live events.
Affected. Live events.
Yep. Live events.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, but they didn't transition to Zoom quick enough. If they'd have actually had a market research system and they'd have known what's happened, they could. I mean, it took Tony Robbins about 4 months to make that shift and realize that he could do online. What's hysterical is because of all of our systems, we switched to online within 24 hours.
Wow.
That's one of our standard
major pivot. Yeah,
thanks.
For 2019, I was doing a lot of live events as well in the virtual space prior to the pandemic aspects of what roughly August 2019 or so into October 2019 or whatever. So I had it wasn't even foresight. It was just an activity of marketing that I started. And so once it started to occur, I'm like, whoo, okay, I'm already like in the live event, online, virtual group stuff. So it kind of wrote out. But it's hard to foretell some of those things, right? Breaking that stats down, how do you help people in your smart blueprint sort of see into the future, their crystal ball just a little bit, right?
It's a really good question. Most of the time, you just want to have systems that are keeping you up to date with the pulse of what's going on. And we did this recently with the Smart Blueprint. We actually generated over $500,000 for orphans in Ukraine when the crisis hit. And we pivoted onto that within 24 hours as well, because we have a system. We have a system where we're continually checking the news and the media to see what's going on in the hearts and minds of people all over the world, and making sure that when relevant and when we feel that we can actually add value, which is a key component, it's not, oh, let's grab this opportunity, it's add value. We step in and we add value. And, it doesn't always work, but the majority of the time it does. And because we're continually reevaluating, we're never sitting back on our laurels, and it's not hard work, it's a system. We have a system that just continually checks in with everybody, all of our customers, with the media, with our staff, hey, what's going on? What does everyone care about today? What do we need to be doing? What do we need to be knowing? So for example, a lot of people have recently, I don't know how relevant this will be when this airs, but recently, a lot of people are getting on the artificial intelligence writing game, content creation game. Well,
I've seen this.
Did you hear that today Google announced that it's no longer acceptable for Google, and they will blacklist sites that do it? That's a great example, right?
So there's a lot of those softwares that are suddenly going to go out of business in the next 30 days. And I'm watching what was the one that my partner sent me earlier? I'm trying to remember the name of it. He literally sent this to me this morning. How funny is this in time?
Jasper.
Ooh. Yeah, you said it, not me.
That's my guess.
You're not listening to this.
Jasper is the most prominent one, and I love Jasper. I think it's an amazing AI.
Yep.
I think they've got a great thing going, and now they have 24 hours to pivot and respond to this, because the majority of the people that use various AI are using it to create content for Google for search engine optimization, and this is now going to be a very, very unique pivot for them.
So I suppose there's going to be some sort of higher level AI working at Google to stop the other AI that's trying. I mean, this sounds a little like Skynet evolving here.
So again, the only reason that the Smart Blueprint's good is because we keep up to date with everything. So the current AI system is being used as GPT-3, and Google has their own AI. But obviously has access to GPT-3 as well. And in fact, their AI may be based on it. I'd have to double check my research on that. But the point is, it wouldn't be hard for an AI to basically backwards do what it did.
Engineer another AI.
Yeah, exactly. just reverse what was done.
Right.
To see if I reversed this and reworded it. Because eventually, because computers can't randomize anything. I don't know if you know, they can't. It's always just an algorithm that essentially can be reversed. So all a computer has to do is rearrange the words within a certain parameter that GPT-3 is capable of, and say, can I get a 100% match? And if the answer is yes, then this is definitely.
And they're so evolving. Like you don't know this, but when in my IBM days, I had the opportunity of working on a project in RMonk and got to be near the Watson team and worked around them with some human machine language learning and stuff like over 15 years ago. And it was for determining knowledge transfer at the customer support level, for answering mobile questions before the customer, called. They would know enough information to be 40% accurate at that point. about what the customer wanted when they called in. So this stuff has been evolving for a while.
Yeah, and it's funny at the dawn of its creation, it's now already struggling. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a use for AI. There absolutely is. But again, it's the smart blueprint. That's what we call it, the smart blueprint. The smart people are going to pivot. Some people are just going to run away. Some people are going to collapse and fold. Some people are going to be like, "Wait, what happened? I missed the whole thing." And then there are going to be other people that are going to they're going to get smart and they're going to pivot. And I've been saying for a while that I don't think full automation is the right move. One of my favorite speeches, I'll stand on stage and I'll be like, who likes phone automation for sales? Everyone raises their hand. And I'm like, no, what I mean is who likes going through a phone automation for sales? And then everyone's like, no. I was like, right, so you don't like it, but you insist on developing it for your company.
Right.
So we always talk about hybrid solutions, which tend to be much better, where you have a real human, but there is some elements that are automated that aren't seen by the customer. The customer journey doesn't have automation visibly, but the hybrid system does have some automation that the customer.
Well, there's a struggle between that evolution and, in some ways, de-evolving against things that are against the customer value or against the customer journey. Sending out handwritten postcards or sending out automated postcards has kind of become a new thing. We do it. People like it. They appreciate it. We always get positive comments. But that was for a time not an acceptable practice. It was more acceptable to send out digital stuff. So there is literally components of some of us who are de-evolving, let's say, to those who are evolving into AI as business. But this adapts into kind of the second part of why businesses fail, right?
It does, which is cash flow issues.
Yep.
And cash flow issues will kill almost every business. The amount of companies I see where they come to me and they say, we just want to make an extra 7 figures a year, or a couple of, or we've got a target for 8 figures or something like that. And I'm like, how's your cash flow? And they go, well, it's bad right now, but we know if we get the extra figures. I'm like, what makes you think if your numbers go up that the problem will go away? Because what happens is typically as your earnings go up, your costs go up. They tend to move together, and they only don't move together if you have a cash flow system, a really solid system that covers it. And so I give an example in this talk, and it's a free giveaway, by the way, so I'll give it to you at the end. But I give this breakdown of 2 different people, and we have Family Business Fred and Smart Blueprint Sam. And they both have a lawn care business. And I do it by the numbers, and I just show the difference of Family Business Fred, who does, what a typical business person does and grinds hard and mows the lawns. And Smart Blueprint Sam starts with a cash flow system. And shockingly, within 5 months, Smart Blueprint Sam can retire. And it's just by the numbers. The numbers are exactly the same for both people. And the only difference is that Smart Blueprint Sam is doing very smart things with the way they get the money. But in fairness, before Smart Blueprint Sam can retire, Smart Blueprint Sam has 5 hard months, where Smart Blueprint Sam isn't really getting paid. Whereas, Family Business Fred is getting paid from day one, but within 5 months, truly, I think Smart Blueprint Sam ends up with like $5,000 a month that's guaranteed income.
I can see a board game coming out of this, Adam. It's like played almost like, Warcraft for business with Smart Business Sam. Take the life path, take the Smart Business Sam path. I could see it. It's a board game. It can be laid out and big, played in time, play in your basement, right?
It's so funny you say that, because the reason I got good at business was because I was a janitor and I was a nobody. And but I was really good at video games and board games. And so I remember one of my friends just casually said to me, it's like, if you ever spent like half the time you put into being really good at dominating everybody at board games and video games in like life, I bet you'd wreck everyone at business. And it's stuck in my head.
Very insightful.
Yeah, it was like, what if I did just think, rather than going around the villages collecting gold to cement my position and beat my opponent in a 4-hour game.
Monopoly money is mine.
Right, yeah. What if I actually just sat down and thought, well, how does this work in real life? Yeah. And that's why, a lot of what I don't mean, the whole Smart Blueprint is really just the rules of business of like, definitely do this, don't do that. And that's what makes it good.
It's actually funny because we play the game of life in our house with the girls. Yes. And every time I don't take the education path. But it's not the automation path. I don't take the education path because I know I can get straight to the money and then use the money to go and beat them all at the end. And I always have to hold back. because they're still playing. I don't want to wreck them in the game of life. Their whole goal is how many kids and cats and dogs can they fit in their car as they stick them all in there. That's what my girls do.
That's really
Yeah.
funny.
Everybody
If they're enjoying it. What's really cool though is I'm in my 40s now, and I'm back in school. I'm completing my education, but I'm doing it for fun.
Yeah,
I'm not doing
because
it.
I can. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm doing it now because I've got the time to and I want to.
Well, and that's the last part. Like, what's the final component?
So the final component, and this is one that everyone. It's so funny. I've given this talk to thousands of people, and nobody gets this one. But I guarantee you, it's the first thing they complain about when they go to work, and that's they don't have the right employees.
Right.
Yep.
No. And I don't have any employees. So I used to have employees. So I know exactly what the key man stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. It's tough. Having employees is really difficult, and managing them is difficult. And so that's a classic mistake. And it's funny, most people aren't equipped to be able to run and work.
How can you manage someone if you can't manage yourself?
Yes, exactly.
Well, it's classic, right? I've seen it over and over and over again. I'll just get someone to do this for me. I'll just get someone to, like, when I hear that pattern in someone's language, constantly saying that as a repetition, I'm like, you're not going to make it.
It's so true. And it's so funny. It's so apt that we're saying it right now, because I just had to let go of my entire film department. And so I own a film company. Actually, that's not true. I used to own a film company. I already folded the film company.
Because you fired them all.
Yeah, well, I kept the film department, but fired the film company.
Okay.
I didn't want to do the film work anymore, because film work doesn't actually pay as much as you think it would. Although I've made some good shows to the Discovery Channel and some big YouTube channels, some of the biggest YouTube channels in the world. Actually, I made their videos. But I didn't really want to do that work anymore, so I just did internal video stuff. Yeah. But I one of the problems with teaching people how to grow businesses and systems is I had this incredible video department, and the head of my department one day comes to me and he says, "Adam, I'm handing in my 30-day notice, and I'm really sorry." And I was like, "Oh my God, I love this guy. His name's Connor. I love Connor to bits." I was like, "Dude, did we do something wrong? Do you need a pay rise? What do you need?" And we're all like, we pay our staff really well, give them full medical benefits, give them, thousands of dollars a year as a Christmas bonus. They get 5 weeks paid vacation. I mean, we love our staff. We look after them. And he's like, no. He's like, "You've had me editing all these videos on how to buy a business and grow and scale a business with systems." I was like, "Right." He goes, "Well, I bought a business and secured myself a salary that's 4 times more than you pay me."
Ouch.
And I was like, "Well, congratulations
for you, buddy."
Yeah. I was so happy, because apparently my video guy had listened to everything I'd ever done. He bought himself an auction house, of all things, an art auction house.
Yeah.
And he loves art. And I was just so happy for him. But what happened was we replaced him, and we hired these video people. And the first people we hired didn't really want to do the job. And somehow that got missed by my COO. And I'm not sure how that happened, but it did. So we ended up with a new team last minute that were not trained by the original guy.
Right.
And this is just, it was a calamity of errors, but we ended up with a really, really bad film team. And everything that came out was bad. Like, everything was just low quality. Yeah. And my history, I used to work in film. Many, many years ago, I worked for Elizabeth Murdoch, and I worked in a number of film productions. And I actually did a movie with Tom Arnold, true story. I was an associate producer, called Pegasus, Pony with a Broken Wing. Oh, it's a really bad family film. Anyway, sorry. No one would have. It's terrible. I got paid to save it. That was.
Oh, you got paid to save?
Yeah, they ran out of budget halfway through filming, and we're like, help! And so they said, "We've got enough money to pay you. Please bring this movie, because it has to finish." They're like, "We need it to finish."
Right, of course.
And so we had zero budget, and we had to bring it to end. And of course, Tom Arnold turned up on set, and we couldn't let him know that there was no budget. And so, I was like cooking food for him, and was like, "Catering provided you this," but there was actually no food.
Oh, good grief.
Yeah, anyway, it's a terrible film. I do not recommend anyone watches it unless you want to watch a really bad film. But
no, we're going to go look it up now. We're totally going to look it up.
You can see my name in the credits on IMDb. But my point of this is, I know how to film and edit. And just like you said, right? Anyone who says, "Oh, I'll just pay someone to do that," I've spent probably last week editing everything that's come out of our company. And it's a sizable amount of edit work. I'm probably doing about 20 hours of editing a week on top of what I normally do. And everyone in the company is like, "Why is Adam doing this? What's going on?" And so I sat to them and I said, "Listen, I'm not just editing. I'm creating standard operating procedures and everything. because we got rid of the guy that was in charge of it. And his standard operating procedures, I don't understand because I didn't create them. And they weren't as good as they should have been because he was so good at what he did and running the department. There was some elements that he was just winging, like it had his flavor. And we never noticed it because for 4 years, the guy was phenomenal. We never questioned it. He was working from home. I think he was only doing about 15 hours a week and no one noticed, no one cared because he was just really good at his job.
It was there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The output was there. Everything was good. It was a classic example. And he would work, the only reason I know he was doing about 15 hours because I could call him at like 8 p.m. on a Saturday and be like, we've got this urgent thing. He goes, no problem whatsoever. I was like, that's weird.
How can he be available?
Yeah, it's just because he felt guilty because he wasn't working.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So he was always available. He was just a great guy. But yeah, so I'm creating all these standard operating procedures for film. And what's really funny is so today we had like I said, I met with my CFO and I just showed him 12 new ads that we're running. And he was like, these are the best ads we've ever had. He's like, the quality's amazing. There's motion graphics, your animation and sound effects and everything. He's like, you did them. I was like, yeah.
You just got to work yourself into a job.
Yeah, right. So I was like, I can always get paid $500 a day to do editing.
Might as well quit the company and go to work for yourself.
At this point, why not $10,000 a month? God, I could go bankrupt in a week. But one of the coolest things about it is I am making these standard operating procedures and templates. And so I had my project manager sit with me yesterday. I was like, you're going to watch me edit for a day. And he's like, I got a lot to do. And I was like, nothing more important than watching me edit. And by the time, because he didn't understand editing. So by the time I finished, my project manager was like, well, this is really easy. I think I could do it. I was like, great. Now, when we hire somebody and they come into the film department, I want you to remember what you saw. I want you to show them where the templates are. Look how I've labeled everything. And so it's kind of nice. It's like, because I did it when we first started the film company 5 years ago. And now I'm doing it again, but we don't have a film company, but it's like internal film. And so I'm doing it a little bit more of that kind of flavor. But that's how you manage a team. You do the work. You put your shoulder behind the wheel. You do the great quality and then blow people away. Or the alternative is you pay through the nose. You
pay through their own experience and time and money. And then you probably end up going and doing it anyways, which is kind of the moral of the story. The experience component of that is definitely an important part. And this is why I refer to my folks as CEO operators. And so I let them know, like from the very beginning, if you get involved with us, you are going to be a CEO operator. You're going to do what Adam just did. You're going to learn how to create those things so you can build the SOPs. You can use your OKRs. I'm sure you got some of that in your bailiwick too, your objectives and key results. And you're going to do it the way that I'm showing you how to do it through the alignment. And then you're going to go repeat that process. Trying to save people the, downstream problems that will always happen 3, 6, 9, 12 months down the road when they can't can't replicate what they're doing. They want to sell their company and they have no operational independence in it whatsoever.
Yeah, it's terrible. You can't, you can't sell a company. And it's the same thing. I can't even take over the film department from my very competent film person when I understand film and he understands film because he didn't leave, good enough standard operating procedures. Literally, there's 12 videos that are really, really good in our company. Everyone loves them. And we want to change the voiceover on them. And we can't find the original files. And they're stored in one of 7,000 hard drives, I'm sure. And I could absolutely go through 7,000 hard drives until I find all 12.
Or they're probably on your Google Drive about to be eliminated by their AI because they all sound
right. Yeah, exactly. And so the reality is I'm looking at it, I was like, well, it'll probably only take me 8 hours to make it from scratch. It'll probably take me 8 hours to go and look for the originals. I may as well just redo the videos.
Do it again.
And yeah, but that's the thing. I find a lot of CEOs, if you sit down to them and say, what do you need to do to make your employees succeed? They would be like, well, I should do this really. I was like, well, do you ever think that maybe that's the reason that you're upset with them? Because you're really upset that you just don't want to put in the work to make them good. And the phrase that I always, because I have a mastermind of sort of like very high level business owners and it's a private invite thing. But I say to them every time, I'm like, before you complain about your staff member, remember that McDonald's does okay on $7 an hour workers.
True story.
I was like,
that ought to hit you right between the eyeballs.
Yeah, because we all make fun of McDonald's workers, but McDonald's make billions off of McDonald's workers. And if the McDonald's workers at McDonald's know that, you got to replace their fries every 11 minutes and, and all the other systems and everything that goes inside running a kitchen at McDonald's, and they're doing that at minimum wage, you got really no excuse for your $20 an hour employee not owning a task.
So focusing on your revenue generating activities, RGAs as I refer to them, are really creating those SOPs that drive the business and doing it nearly from the beginning as you understand it save yourself the time. I just tell my people, worst case scenario, just hit the record button while you're doing the task. Like just imperfectly record yourself doing the task, right? Is there any other tips that you would give people who are kind of operating in this space right now, listening to this, who may have not taken action on this kind of stuff yet?
Yeah, you're going to love this one.
Okay.
Made a business plan anytime recently? Because did you know that, yeah, exactly. I love that you say, yeah, 100% give or take, was like 99.999% of the businesses that fail every year, 500,000 or more, don't have a business plan.
Yeah.
And they
see, the danger in that is they think of it too much at the beginning, in my opinion, sometimes, and they may argue, I want to hear you.
Don't do the business because
don't do the business at all. Yeah. Yes, analysis paralysis kicks in, and then they fail if that 500,000, and because they never started at all.
Yeah.
Or they forget to even start the process of the plan somewhere in the process of making the money, which is, you mentioned a minute ago about the guys mowing the lawns and picking up his coin, right? From the very beginning, he didn't build a business plan.
Right. So I do an event every year for my mastermind people. We call it the Working Vacation. And on Working Vacation, we go on a cruise ship and we invite all of our high-level business people with us on the boat. And the whole point of the boat is do all the high-level stuff that you wouldn't normally do because no one can reach you because you're on a boat. And to me, it's a great time to do a business plan. So we do this probably about 2 to 3 times a year. We do it twice with our clients and once on our own. And you just get on a boat, drink nice wine, eat lobster, and we just map out, what are we doing? And it's a really good way of like just reassessing. Do we like our job? Do we like what we're doing? Is everything going the way we want it to? Are we effective? And I found it's one of the best ways. And that's a great time to a business plan. It really takes like 20 minutes to an hour. It's not long to write one out. And it's hysterical because banks, that's one of the first things they want to know. They want to see your business plan. Like, what's your 3-year plan? And it's shocking to me how many business owners just don't have one.
Yeah. So busy working the business or so busy trying to make money from the business. They forget some of the essentials. But if you guys are listening to this today, you know better. Adam, thank you so much for coming on. I'm honored. Thank you for sharing some insights, value. This was fun, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right, my friend. Take care. If you like this episode, please share it with people you think will enjoy it as well. Thank you for listening, and be sure to tune in next week for a brand new episode of High Voltage Business Builders.